what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. What's going on, y'all? Happy Saturday, April 25th, 2026. Just coming to you with a quick little check-in because I missed a couple days. This week is a really busy week. And so I just feel like it's only right I check in today. I may even stop by tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But I hope you're having a wonderful weekend so far, feeling rested. It's hella, it's hella gloomy in terms of the weather here. It was threatening rain pretty much all day. It's cold, it's brisk. My son had soccer, so I had to be outside. I am now inside, enthusiastic about doing this message, and even more enthusiastic about just vegging out on my couch. And I think I'm going to binge watch the second season of Paradise because I haven't watched it yet. So that's just a little bit about me and how exciting my Saturday is. I hope that you are enjoying yourself doing whatever you're doing today and tomorrow, okay? All right, so let's see what we got. Oh, of course, we're using Intuitive Kev's IKEV Tarot deck. Is that right? Yeah, IKEV Tarot deck. I think that's what it's called, right? I don't know why that just sounds funny to me. But yeah, we're using that. Shout out to Kev. And let's see what we got. Oh man, 5 of Wands. You know, when we break out these Kev's decks, it's always some fire behind it. So let's see what we got. Somebody is angry or irritated, to say the least, with 5 of Wands. Provoked. That's what I'm getting from that. Somebody is either feeling provoked or is trying to be provocative. That's a different take on it that I've never felt before. Let's see, what else? Not a vampire, child. No. Definitely emphasis on the provocateur. Let's see, a vampire? Well, could be an energy vampire with all these wands. Well, that makes sense, especially when I'm saying somebody's trying to be provocative. It could be someone like almost poking the bear or trying to provoke some type of response to provoke anger, ultimately so that they can siphon that energy for themselves, like just trying to get any type of response, any type of read on someone, particularly though emphasis on anger or irritation, because that's kind of where we started, you know, to make someone feel uncomfortable or challenged in some type of way so that they can siphon that energy. So just beware of vampiric situations and people that want to steal your peace or disrupt, more so disturb your peace than anything, put you on guard unnecessarily, or again provoke you into confrontation. There it is, confrontation, competition. Heavy on the confrontation though, because I mean the moment that you get out of character or out of sorts or reactive in a way that isn't productive for you or to the overall situation is the moment that this person, I won't say they win, but they have the most to gain out of that circumstance. I just heard, don't let the bastards grind you down. That's from Handmaid's Tale. That's interesting. I'm also watching that, but that only comes on once a week, unfortunately. I binge watched, well, to catch up when I finally got hip to Handmaid's Tale. I watched like a couple seasons and in a row. I hate when you catch up and then you have to wait week to week. But now there is The Testaments, which is kind of like the sequel to the first one, and it's really good so far. I'm really enjoying it. But anyway, Here's the Page of Pentacles. Yeah, oh yeah, oh said there, here it is. There's something out in it for someone else. Like the moment somebody absorbs their energy is their currency. That's what I'm getting from this. You know, like I'm hearing like attention, that type of when kids try to get attention by any means necessary, like they don't even care if it's bad attention, good attention, when they're attention deprived, okay. I'm hearing it. They'll find ways to put the spotlight on themselves, or again to evoke some type of response from whomever. Sometimes it's in class, in school, sometimes it's their parents, so they'll act out or whatever. I'm getting that here, especially with the Page of Pentacles being kind of like an immature energy. It's like somebody um is may feel attention deprived in some way, shape, or form. Like they can't survive or can't thrive without having some type of conflict. Yeah. Like conflict is their currency. Did I say that already? I don't know if I did. I don't think so. I think I said it. Energy. But yeah, even more specifically, conflict. This is somebody that thrives on creating conflict, inciting conflict, maybe even between others, because traditionally the Five of Wands is like five people at each other's throat. It could be somebody that starts mess and then sits back, as they say, throws rocks and hides their hand. They'll start mess and then sit back and watch it all unfold, or watch the fallout from it and just soak it up. But they're feeling particularly, I keep hearing depraved, but I don't know what that means exactly. I keep saying deprived, but I swear every time I say deprived, I hear depraved. So let me just look that up real quick. Let's see. Corrupt, immoral. Damn. So that's the reason why I'm nefarious, shameful, sinful, vicious, vile, warped, wicked. Everything that's why I'm hearing it, because this is, as the vampire, somebody that just wants to see other people at each other's throats and literally gets I want to say aroused, or I use the word provocateur, so yeah, that's probably the right word. They get aroused from watching shit just fall apart, or at least watching it fall apart for other people. But at the Page of Pentacles, it's given that it's not really paying off the way that it used to, or the supply is low. The return is not what it once was, and maybe that's why somebody, I keep saying, is deprived, like somebody starved. Yeah, it's like starved for attention, starved for conflict, like all the easy ways that they would be able to kind of stir it up and have a feast, perhaps, is not really as plentiful as it used to be. Let's see, what else? Damn, like depraved, vicious, lewd, nefarious. Eight of Wands, something's backfiring. I mean, in this case, it's not. Hold on, let me see. What's after the Eight of Wands? Or they getting it, but it's not in the. Oh, that's why I'm getting backfired, because it's like it's plentiful in one way, but not in the way that they like it to be, which is from the observant perspective, where they're on the outside looking in. It's like the energy that someone is used to feeding off of after stirring it up outside of themselves is now they're having a firsthand experience, pretty much. So it's like every time they go to create a conflict that they think they're about to ultimately siphon from, they end up creating it ends up backfiring like in incredible proportions to what they intended to create even outside of themselves. It comes back like double fold, you know what I mean, or some type of in some type of accelerated way, or expanded magnitude. Like they might have just been trying to do X, Y, and Z, but they got 1, 2, 3, and ABC coming back to them plus X, Y, and Z. That's what I'm getting here. So it's not paying off in the ways that it used to, but it's definitely having some type of result and impact for them personally. Or it could just be this Eight of Wands is all the energy that has been expelled. That's probably why it's amplified or intensified, because all of the energy that they've expelled creating these conflicts or creating doing nefarious acts is making it so that not only are they in alignment to receive that energy back, but it's also the fact that when they do try to actively create a situation, that's why it's also compounded, because it's that on top of what they already got coming to them anyway. Something like that. But vampire is giving me somebody that they can't even help themselves. Like in every vampire movie, even the ones that try to curb their appetite, there usually is some moment of, what's the word? Like lapse, or, like a regression. Not, what is it called? Relapse. That's what it is. Yeah, like a relapse, because the soul of that creature craves, in most cases, blood. So in some movies they'll substitute human blood for like animals, or like True Blood, when they had that synthetic True Blood was a synthetic substitution to help curb their bloodthirst, but it's just not quite like the real thing. It never really is. So it's like, if this is an energy that's kind of built up a bloodlust. Interesting. That's a whole nother. It might not be in the actual sense, but like I said, it's like the conflict is what drives them. So where they may try, even they're at their best to deny themselves, to abstain, is something. It's a greater thirst, dare I even say, like possession and obsession, that kind of takes over. And it's real crazy, because like I was saying, they might already be under fire for what they have done to maybe even build up this lust, so to speak, to intensify it on their own, at their own will. And now it's such a part of their existence, their daily life, their way of being, that even if they tried to curb that thirst, it's like damned if they do, damned if they don't. Like just as much as True Blood wasn't really satisfying to vampires, and animal blood, like I think it was, what was that? Twilight, I think, where he basically tried to just hunt animals, but there's usually a certain melancholy or gloom around characters like that are trying to abstain in some way from their true nature, or their carnal nature, at least, or primal in this case nature. So yeah, it's like somebody's, they can't, it's hard for them to manage the deprivation, when even if they try, but the thirst that they give way to, when they relapse or whatever, is also damaging to themselves. Like it's inflicting a wound or some type of infraction against themselves every time they go to try to satisfy this lust. So it's like, if they don't do it, they feel, it's like going through withdrawal, but if they do it, they inflict harm on themselves, which is kind of like how drugs are until you get over, like the lust for it and the thirst, or even drinking or whatever, until you get over that, because there's really no drug or drink that if you the more you indulge in it, the better it makes you feel, unless we talking about like natural stuff like herbs and things that are good for the body. But any type of substance, uh um I want to say abuse, and maybe that's what we're talking about here, some type of substance abuse, but dependency is the more diplomatic phrase that you might have. You're going to go through that withdrawal until you get over the hump. But if you continue, every time you relapse and get back into whatever the vice may be, it's only going to make it harder to recover the next time. And 9 times out of 10, again, you're going to be doing some damage to yourself. So I don't know. It could even be pills here with this Page of Pentacles. And here's another page with the Queen. Damn. What's that? The supplier? That's what it's given, kind of like that could be the issue, that somebody is in a place or space where the supply is so accessible. Yeah, imagine that, like you trying to get off of pills or some type of drug, whatever this coin could represent, and but you're still in an environment where it's either the people are still, the people you hang out are still into it, or it's just always around. Like Pookie working in the crack house, you know what I mean? Like he got cleaned up and everything, and he really thought that he could handle it, but as soon as he got around that rock, it was all, and free rock at that. That's what it's given, like something that is too accessible. And that's how, that's kind of how dark lower frequencies work anyway. They're going to keep supplying you for as long, you'll figure out a way. You'll find a way to supply that habit, and it'll be obliged to help you do so for as long as you are committed to destroying yourself. You might even steal, you might even do something strange, you might hurt somebody, you might hang around people that you really don't want to be around, or that are no good, but because when you get around the party people, the drinks, the narcotics, the whatever is going to be flowing, so it's real. It's kind of negative, quite honestly, even though the Queen of Pentacles and even the Page and the Eight of Wands, like is these are pretty positive cards. But with regards to how we started and what I'm speaking of, I'm not so sure. And that could even be, the tough, the reason why it's so hard to get out of some type of situation or habit, or again, like lust or thirst or habit, Did I say habit twice? Oh no. I think I might have. White magic. And it's going to take a prayer. Yeah, for somebody to get. Child. Yeah, I know what I be feeling. It's going to take a miracle and somebody to truly, surrender. And again, like the white magic is giving me that it's going to take like a miraculous will to abstain, for somebody to really be, to like break for the other side of the game, the other side of the spectrum, where you have completely separated yourself from the temptations of certain influences that kind of draw you back into that primal instinct, the places and spaces where it's most accessible, to try to, kind of pray your way or transcend your way from the triggers that that tempt you to turn back into that space and time or that mentality or psychology, whatever it is. It's like somebody really needing to completely detach from everything that is associated with a certain way of being in order for there to be any hope that they can recover first and foremost and escape the pitfalls of it. I don't even know. Do I want to keep going? It's so weird. Let's see, what else? The Hermit, yeah, they're going to have to go within, separate, get secluded, do some soul searching, call on some, guidance outside of themselves, definitely outside of those environments, like some trustworthy guidance, some guidance that has your best interest at heart. You can't go, you wouldn't be able to go consulting with the folks that are in the same boat as you. Like they're not going to be able to really, they're not going to, under the 501s, like they're not going to, first of all, want to see you thrive or get beyond where they are. First and foremost, like they're not going to see you do better than them. And they may not even have the tools. They're not going to be equipped. Like imagine like two addicts trying to help, one trying to help the other get clean. They might even mean well, but not if you both have the same ailment, or illness. Like you can't, it's like the blind leading the blind. It's not going to happen. Somebody's got to get completely get in solitude. They may have to leave a lot of what they have been familiar and comfortable with, maybe even aroused by or provoked by behind, and like really like repent. It's really a call for repentance. That's what the white magic is giving me, like prayer, meditation, cleansing, seeking inner truth, looking to go higher, get also going deeper, figuring out. That's also the Hermit, like figuring out where the root of this issue stems from, so that you can heal that infliction and truly move on. So I don't know. And also being aware and accepting of your presence, admittance, I guess, as they say, right? The Empress, Lord. The Empress. It's definitely a more productive point of view. That's where things can be birthed when you come out of her or in hermit mode and out in hermit mode. Yeah, learning more about yourself. Here it is. Again, the acceptance, the acknowledgement, the perspective, a cleansed perspective that gives way for fresh vitality, maybe even a second chance, new life. That's what the Empress represents to me. Like something that is healed enough to now bear fruit. Like you're not growing in a vampiric state. That's dead. Literally dead, walking dead. The Empress is like the opposite of that. Not only is she fruitful, but she's giving life, bearing fruit, or at least has the capacity to nurture. Let's see. Up in the clouds. It's definitely a confirmation. It's something definitely could be talking about some type of addictive behavior here. It may not be drugs, may not be alcohol. I don't know. That's the most practical examples that I can think of course, and most relatable. But obsession and possession can come in many different forms. Like I said, mystically speaking, you could just be addicted to people's energy and just siphoning the best of what people have to give. Psychologically, that can be manipulation and narcissism. Just extracting all the life out of decent people and connections for whatever reason. And then the conflict aspect, that's also like a dark psychological thing, to want to see other people at each other's throat or fighting or in some type of dispute or in unrest, disharmony, and that being giving you some type of pleasure or satisfaction. All of it is a bit distorted, a lot distorted, actually. And up in the clouds under Eight of Wands, like I said, to me, it's just like maybe that high coming down and reality setting in. Here it is, like regardless of whatever we're talking about here, whatever vice or behavior, it just doesn't give what it used to give anymore. It doesn't, how when you smoke too much and you like, especially if you're smoking the same type of product or the same thing, weed, I'm talking about, by the way. That's the only thing I have firsthand experience about is weed. And maybe a little bit of alcohol, but I never was too much of a drinker, and I'm still not. But when you smoke too much of the same stuff, eventually it doesn't hit the same. Like it either the high doesn't last as much, or it's not as satisfying, or you feel like you have to smoke more to achieve a certain level of satisfaction, and then eventually you ultimately either find yourself buying more, because like I said, you're smoking more or smoking more often, or changing grades or whatever you do, but it's never going to give the same thing when you're continuously hitting the same source over and over again. It's going to lose its effect. And that's what I'm getting here. Like whatever the thing was, it doesn't have the same effect anymore. So that's what draws someone deeper into, like I said, doing darker things or being even more what's the right word, like consumed by the habit itself, like chasing that high that you can't seem to obtain again, you can't seem to reach. And that's the thing about drugs, especially as they say weed is a gateway drug, which is why, like I'm saying, you'll either start smoking more or you might start smoking something else, or lacing it with different stuff, because you just can't, like I said, it's just not hitting. Which is why ultimately when you find yourself in that position, that's when at the very least it's time to take a break. It's time to lay off for a minute, maybe get your tolerance level back down again, your taste for it changed a bit, because the more you keep going, you're progressing into an unhealthy state in some way, shape, or form. Because in terms of weed, there's not but so high you're ever really going to get with weed unless you start supplementing it with other things like alcohol, or lacing it, or whatever else people do anymore with weed. So, and that I'm saying that because that's just like the mildest thing to reference. There, when we getting into harder things and more addictive substances, it's even harder to break that stronghold, to the point where you do find yourself, you know, up in the clouds. There's a little bug crawling on me. Ugh, that was creepy. You do find, you know, you find yourself always trying to, you know, get higher and higher, or higher for longer, and doing worse things. Like, that's what it's giving here. And hell, that could be the backfire of somebody's karma too. Like I was saying before, how somebody's kind of stuck in a rut because every time they go to do this act, you know, in the first way I referred to it as like starting conflict or starting some shit outside of themselves, and sitting back and enjoying it. Every time they go to do that, which gives them a rush, it also gives them a backfire. That's multiple times worse than what they did. So it's like, where do you find your satisfaction? You don't really. You're just caught up in a vicious cycle. Again, just as much as it is with practical drugs, chasing a high that you're never ever going to have again. And it could even be money. Like somebody, money can be an addiction as well. Like they're used to benefiting in some type of way. You know, they're used to manipulating energies in a way that literally gives them actual profit, like some type of material or monetary return. And when it's not really flowing like that anymore, like say the record labels, you know, and they have to find other ways to enact the same practices in different spaces. And that's why you see people getting signed in the independent world or on YouTube and things like that, because it's like, well, here's the vampiric energy. You're not going to go use your talent, you know, maybe you don't even have one, to display and create a monetary exchange for. You have to go find somebody else, maybe unsuspecting most times, and kind of extract the most of what you can from them and to monetize their success. So yeah, like, and that's not we know that that's even another practical example of what's just not lucrative anymore. You can't, it's never going to make what it used to make before. And every time, and society, universally, really, like the consciousness of present day, particularly the creative consciousness, is not ever going to allow for that to be as profitable as it used to be before. It's never going to be suited for that. Not in our lifetime. You'll never have overlording industries like the record labels and things like that be able to rake in millions and billions of dollars, and their artists or whatever making pennies. Even the contracts can't have to be a little bit more savvy to the present times than that. Like, even artists themselves are not as thirsty to be contractually bound as they used to be before, when you thought that that was the only way you could achieve a certain level of success. It's getting darker. Black magic at play. Black magic, yeah, like sleight of hand. It's just, it has to be, and here it is. Like how I was saying, like every time they go to do something nefarious, you know, to put it in the words that I looked up, it has a backfire. So with this black magic in the darkest frequency, the lowest frequency, you might get a coin off of it, but it's going to have repercussions that are far worse, far outweigh what you may have made profitably. So it's like hitting a lick, and you got the bag, you know, you definitely secured the bag, but you got other problems. You got an illness, or you're psychologically, it doesn't have the same psychological, like adrenaline or dopamine rush, or that's sustainable for the long run, emotionally or psychological, as it used to. So it's just, as soon as you got the bag, you would think that should cure your melancholy, but it's like, no, it just leaves you empty, feeling empty and wanting more, planning the next lick and figuring out how to get it over here, or who to target next. And each each time is more and more difficult to pull off, as opposed to what it used to be. So then it's another mental stress on you, just trying to figure out a way to do something even more clever than the last time you did, because you're becoming more and more exposed every time you do. So it's not like you just getting away with murder, or getting away with stealing or cheating or deceiving or any of that. You're pretty exposed for the most part, or at risk of being so. So it's like I said, it's not even just an easy lick anymore. You got to work hard for that coin, and take a lot of risks, and put yourself in a lot of danger, and in harm's way. And every chance that you take is a much higher likelihood that you might actually get caught or get nabbed. Or, like I said, even if you don't get nabbed, like, what comes with it energetically don't even be worth it. You know what I mean? Like, you have all the money, but then everything goes wrong all at once. And that's how karma works. So that you got the bag, but now this need to be fixed, that need to be fixed, this went down, this you got to pay double on this. Like, all of a sudden, all your expenses swallow up everything that you thought you got away with, and you don't even get to enjoy it. Like, that type of return of energy, mystically speaking, even here, as with the black magic. Like, just as sure as you got it, as sure as it gets taken away. And that's the cycle now. When you're doing things nefariously, or with some type of lower intention, this is the glitch in the matrix. This is what it's always going to be, for as long as we know, for as long as it matters to us. So it's like, if you, like, here it is with the white magic, if you don't figure out some other alternative route to take, you're just going to be stuck in this unsatisfying, unsavory cycle of unfulfillment, because the things that you used to do to satisfy that are not going to work the way that they used to. And there's a greater risk of really putting yourself in some, maybe even fatally in harm's way, the more that you try. That's the glitch. And it's a good glitch. Because one way or another, either people are going to stop playing games, and figure out a better way to be, or they're going to ultimately eliminate themselves. Literally wear themselves out, like the practical example of drugs, where you can't get clean. Eventually you are going to deteriorate to nothing. God forbid you get a batch of the wrong stuff and it's lights out, or you overdose, or it's like, not exclusive or limited to drugs whatsoever, but even playing in black magic, or in dark forces that you have no business dabbling in, especially for the purposes of doing harm or causing harm or injustice to others, it's automatic backfire in this era. It's always going to come right back to where it came from. And it's not going to come back all sweet and and congruent to what you expelled, it's going to come back worse. To the point where you ain't even going to know what hit you hardly. And you keep doing, look at this. King of Wands, it literally fell like this on my lap. Yeah, that's literally using your power for nefarious reasons here with the black magic. Being manipulative, being impulsive, reckless, combative. More than combative, this is abusive. That's what that is. Abusing your power, abusing gifts, abusing others in all of those regards. You know, manipulating, being lustful, having no self-control. Where do you think that's leading? There are no rewards for that energy in this era. Like you might have found your place previously amongst other people that are into the same thing you are, like partying, doing the most, like recklessly living life by the seat of your pants, taking it as it comes, and literally taking it as it comes, like, because there's definitely an emphasis here on because earlier I was talking about provocateur, and we got the vampire. Like, I've been saying lust a lot. You know, it's definitely an emphasis here on some I don't even know what you call it, I guess egregious sexual behaviors. I don't know, like, I don't even know what to call it really, but not having control and not even being responsible as well over your body, over your passion, your energy, your sexuality, plain out and plain outright and plain is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so that could even again amount to doing too much, too often, at too low of a frequency, and ultimately ending up with some type of disease. And mystically speaking, don't get me started on no sex magic here. As the car revs up outside. Don't get me started if that's what we're talking about. People that have been using their wands, or they, you know what I'm saying, for nefarious purposes, are going to find them dysfunctional in every way, shape, and form. You won't even be able to get it in. Or you'll be so wrecked with disease down low that it would be immediately detectable soon as you try to get to something, one way or another. Like that green film around his hands, a odor, some type of abrasion or outbreak or something like that, like it, that you won't be able to hide is what I'm trying to say. Like, you won't be able to just disguise it, or it could even be the word about you getting around because, you know, your reputation has been damaged. So it'll precede you, the word on the street about you, and you won't be able to move and shake like you used to. Whatever it is here, it's not good. And somebody, their back is literally up against the wall. Some folks, maybe just, you know, not somebody, but their back is literally up against the wall to repent and reform their mindset and change their behaviors, or it's going to be fatal one way or another. Walking Dead, like I said, where literally could be somebody walking, like you might not check out of here, you know, literally, actually, but you'll be walking around with something that's incurable for the rest of your life. And even that's not necessarily a death sentence, but, you know, who wants that if you can avoid it? Nobody's signing up for that purposely. One more and I'm out of here. That was a 7 of something. I'm not sure what though. Oh, Lord. What did I say? This came up like this, y'all, on the floor. 10 of Swords in reverse. Now, even in the damn upright, it's not great. I mean, I don't know. Reversal, sometimes it just depends on... Because, of course, we could... I don't know. The 10 of Swords in reverse, because in the upright it's not a great card, you wouldn't mind seeing it in reverse, except for what I'm speaking of here, where... I don't know. I just get the sense that it's literally the make or break. Like I said, like either somebody, there's already been too much damage done, you know, like enough damage to last, you know, to last a lifetime, or be, you know, to be enough, sufficient for a lifetime. Like somebody don't need to do no more damage to themselves than what they already have, or put themselves in any more compromising situations than they already have. So there's already enough that if this was even in the upright, it'd be something hard to recover from or to bounce back from. It would be a lot. But it's also signifying the end of the road, where you no longer have the choice to keep harming self or being harmful. Either one, like you don't have that option freely anymore. It's over. It's the end of the line. So with it being in a reverse, to me, it's just saying like the harm is it can only be done to self or not. Like those are the options. You can either continue to cycle around this trauma over and over again in a way where, like I said, with the drug, with the drug example, you know it's harming you. You know you're not making yourself better by continuing the habit, but you're doing it anyway. You can't even help yourself to some degree, except for if there was some divine intervention and a strong will. But the King of Wands is in the reverse. The will is not strong there. Is quite weak, and weak for vices and you know, the pitfalls of that lower vibrational primal nature than it is to make any type of change or reform, you know, or healing at all. So like I said, this 10 of Swords is kind of scary, honestly, because the hope is here with the white magic and the 6 of Swords for somebody to recover and move on, like move forward in life. But the 10 of Swords is saying that there ain't no end here. Like somebody's just going to keep carrying this out, or maybe some will, some won't, you know, but it's the evidence is here for someone to pretty much ride it till the wheels fall off. Yeah, that's what the design, that's the road they're headed down. You know, like that's what the design of this whole ordeal is set up to do, to have somebody ride their life till the wheels fall off, and ultimately, like I said, either end up a walking zombie, you know, with no control, like their vices and everything else taking total possession of their being, and they be in a constant cycle of self-betrayal and you know, like really treacherous endings, you know, continuously, or for them to eventually end up driving themselves off a cliff to just, you know, be wiped off the face of existence. It makes the darker frequencies, the vampiric energies that stand to benefit, no, never mind. No difference whatsoever. Either way, they'll just collect that soul as as currency and keep it moving on to the next. So, damn. So it's like somebody has literally is in danger, if not already, of becoming the lower frequency that they have contracted or bound themselves to. Like they are taking on, it's a possession. That's what it is. They're taking on the nature of the entity or frequency that they've made agreement with, to the point where like the two have become one or are becoming one. If not for someone like I said, miraculously by divine intervention, finding the will and the awakening to steer their boat in a different direction. Otherwise, here it is, Two of Pentacles, making a choice of what's the greater value here. Continuing to indulge for immediate gratification that ain't even gratifying no damn more, or choosing a higher road. And here's the Nine of Cups, which would be the result of that healed choice, or the result of a choice to heal and to take that higher road. But there's a lot of strong energies that are resistant. Like I said, these energies ain't going to help you make the right choice. So you would have to literally source that will and determination from deep down inside of you. Similar, like I said, to if you have some type of addiction, where if you really, really want to stop, I mean, all of the recovery programs in the world can't really impart that level of strength for you to do so. Like it still has to come from somewhere deep within to have the level of temperance and self-control and willpower to stay away from just the sheer temptation of it all, and to resist the temptation even if you encounter it. Shoot, firsthand experience on the lowest scale of dependencies, weed is hard to kick once it becomes a habit. And again, firsthand experience, you might not even like what you're smoking anymore, but it's become such a habit that you do it anyway. You buy it anyway, So I'm speaking from at least the most simple and at least seemingly the most simple and practical point of view. So if it's something that much harder to kick, that much more possessive in spirit or in truth, there is sympathy, empathy, and grace for it all. But at the end of the day, you still gotta want to be healed. You still gotta want to ascend or transcend or do better or do something different. Nobody can do it for you. And this black magic shit, or people playing in things that they don't even really, they definitely don't have the authority to resource the way that they are. It's only one way out. It's blood in, blood out of that thing. You going to sacrifice something to come out whole, in some way, shape. I won't even say whole because ain't no guarantee on that. But to come out breathing, I'll say, you're going to have to leave something behind, whether it's the people and places and things that you acquired throughout that time frame, disconnecting from all of it together to strengthen your will to reform, or your very own life. You know, if it means that much to you to continue on or to stay connected or engulfed in that lifestyle, then you will make your own self a sacrifice. But either way, blood in, blood out. All right, I'm going to leave that there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.